Prior to the start of tonight's scheduled Plan Commission meeting, there will be a public hearing in front of the Town Board and the Plan Commission to consider arrest by Rob Conley, Lifestriders Inc. to rezone that portion of the Lifestriders Inc. property located within the town of Delafield zoning jurisdiction from A1 Agricultural District to A2 Rural Home District. The property is located at S11 W29667 Summit Avenue. Tax key number is DELT 0859-999-001. The regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting will begin immediately following the conclusion of the public hearing. You want to start us off, Mr. Barbeau?
All right. What I put up on the screen is the location of the lot. You can see the purple line that's shown on the west side of the property is Waukesha County shoreline zoning. So this property is partially in that zoning as well as partially in the town. The town zoning on this property is A1. That requires 95% open space, and that's kind of the basis of the zoning change, is that they are proposing a 3,200 square feet hay barn and possibly another residence on the property at some time in the future. And in order to move forward with the hay barn, we needed to look at open space, and we look at it over the entire property, not just the town section of that property. And then basically they don't meet the requirement as it sits now, and obviously they wouldn't meet it if they would add that barn in the house. So they are requesting a rezoning to A2. A2 does allow agricultural uses, and so they can continue their operation, and their operation is a recorded plan of operation. I believe that was included in the packets. But that's when we get to the barn part of it, then we can talk about that. But as far as the rezoning goes, to the north across the street, it is A2. To the east, it's A1. The county's zoning on a there's actually a separate property to the west that is A2. And then to the south is Genesee, and they're in like an A5 district, which is it's a district that allows different residential uses on it, as well as larger lots, like 5-acre lots out there. So this does meet the land use plan category. It's really ag and other uses category in the land use plan. Rural density and other agricultural land. And so, as I said, their request is to just change what we would say. We would change that portion which is in the town's jurisdiction to A2 on this request.
Anybody else like to speak for the public hearing, or any questions on the public hearing from the Plan Commission or the board members?
Is the county going to have to also approve this?
No, not to my knowledge.
The county has to approve town rezone, so yes, the county Lupe Committee, Parks and Planning, and the county board will ultimately approve our rezone request.
But they are not changing their zoning on their portion of it.
That's what I was really asking, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Seeing no other comments, I'm going to close the public hearing and call to order the Town of Delafield Plan Commission meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Look for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 4th, 2024 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Communications for discussion, possible action. There are none. Unfinished business. There is none. Next item, new business, 5A. Consideration and possible action on the request from Rob Conley, Lifestriders Inc. to rezone approximately 15.9 acres of land at the Lifestriders site located the Town of Delafield zoning jurisdiction at S11 W29667 Summit Avenue, US Highway 18, from A1 Agricultural to A2 Rural Home District, tax key DELT 0859-999-001. That was the item that we just had the public hearing on. I think Engineer Barbeau did a good job of explaining what we're doing. Are there any questions or concerns or comments?
The only thing I'll add is that I'm making a recommendation that the Plan Commission provide a positive recommendation to the town board for the zoning amendment from A1 to A2 for that portion that's within our district. So your recommendation goes to the town board.
I would motion to recommend to the town board a rezone of the subject land located at S11 W29667 Summit Avenue from A1 Agricultural to A2 Rural Home District.
I would second that.
Motion is second to recommend to the town board approval of the rezone of the property from A1 to A2. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes 5-0. Next item, consideration and possible action on the request from Rob Conley, Lifestriders, Inc. for approval of a site plan and plan of operations for Lifestriders, Inc., S11 W29667 Summit Avenue. So we're going to update the site plan to include the hay barn.
Correct. And so up here, you see the site that they've put together here. There's a large indoor riding arena. That's the large block that's in the dark gray black. There's also an office that's connected to that. And then the hay barn is to the south of that, and they show that in cross-hatched area. It's 40 by 80 feet. It's in an area that they'll have to take down one tree, but for the most part, it's an open area. The access to the barn is both from the east and the west. They have gravel drives throughout this to get to their various pastures and others, horse, where they corrals and for the horses. And so they have access roads in various places, and so they're just going to have a barn that you can drive straight through east-west, and so they have access on both sides of that. From a drainage standpoint, it slopes very slightly to the northwest. There's a creek to the northwest, and that's the reason for the shoreline jurisdiction. There's a creek that runs there. So it runs from southeast to northwest. It's got a little bit of a slope to it. They're pretty much going to match very closely to what's out there now, and then they'll just direct the water around the barn in basically the same pattern that goes to the creek. No stormwater management is required because it doesn't meet the requirements because the size isn't large enough to meet the requirements. They're not disturbing more than a half acre of land on this one. So I've reviewed the grading plan, so that's in good shape. The site plan meets all the requirements of the town. This actually is in the county's jurisdiction, but they've asked us to make a recommendation as a plan commission of any conditions that we want to add to what's being proposed for their consideration when they review this. And I believe this would be a staff review from their standpoint. I don't think it goes to any of the committees.
Does that staff review include a review of, because it is going to be a storage facility in addition to a hay barn, is what I think I read?
The
in there?
plans show that they're going to store farm equipment in there.
Yeah,
or
so are they
equipment.
planning on having like diesel fuel or other things inside that barn or outside?
I'm going to defer to the applicant's representative. Tim, do you want to step up here and introduce yourself and then answer the question if you can?
My name is Tim Seidel. I'm an architect. Got a little cold, so I'm going to stay far away from you guys because you don't want this. But yeah, there will be probably some type, ATVs, but mostly it's going to be farm equipment, balers, that type thing. We went through all of the different equipment that he can put in there, and I think the majority of them is, majority of that is going to be gasoline-free, because they don't want any flames to get into the hay barn, so. So the ATVs are there, but they probably drain them, more than likely.
They drain the ATVs before storage?
Yeah. Water, gasoline, or they put in, the chemical.
So for most farm operations, they can have storage amounts of diesel, gasoline, as usually when you're looking at a storage area, those are either contained outside or inside. And I feel like that's a fire department consideration, but I think in the staff review for Waukesha, how that's going to be managed may be something that they want to consider. I don't think that that falls under the town's jurisdiction per se, but with a barn for their intended purposes, that would be something that I would put out there as a recommendation for the staff to address. It's, again, I get what you're saying as far as them draining the ATVs when they pull them in, and certainly with hay, that's a huge fire consideration. Normally, those are two separate buildings.
We have designed into it 2-hour rated walls,
Yeah.
so.
And my concern comes more, the fire is one thing, that's just a risk that's inherent to any type of storage facility. But if they are storing quantities of diesel or gasoline for the equipment, when they start talking about baling, sometimes those can be above ground, or, large quantities. If that does start to leak for some reason, given the area that it is, that could be an environmental consideration that the county would want to take into a consideration as they evaluate.
That be something that the building inspector could look at? Sure that we comply with that?
I,
I think that falls under the fire
There's not a
department,
code
but
on
I
that
could
that
be
I'm
wrong.
aware of.
I'm looking for,
yeah.
Well, they do fire inspections. We can note that to the fire department just to be mindful of it when they're out.
yeah. And I would think that there may be saturation issues, like at the concrete pad, if they do decide to go with especially larger equipment, if they're storing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it sounds like, at least from the small inventory that you've provided, there's going to be some larger equipment. So if they did, and again, county's discretion as far as if they want to see something like a concrete pad under there to prevent spills seeping into the soil.
They will have a concrete pad.
Yes.
It'll be built with a concrete pad.
Yep, and if it's outside, right, so if you can picture like picture a propane tank, right?
Oh, you're saying if the fuel tank is outside. Do you know if they have a fuel tank out there now?
Not going to be heating that at all. I'm not
No,
sure.
I'm saying a fuel tank for, like gasoline tank for their equipment. Do you know if they?
I don't know.
I don't know either if they have, what they have out there right now, if they have any kind of fuel tank out there now.
Yeah. Again, if with the equipment, it's a question for the county if they're taking this further as far as a recommendation and evaluation. The other question I'd pose here is, I see where there's a proposal for the home there. Is the intent with that drive, because it looks like that road already goes into, I think that's the Stromberg's property, to the east, would the intent be that that's a shared driveway?
Most likely. So we're not necessarily dealing with the house at this time. They could come in at a separate time for that, just for a building permit.
Okay.
But the location of that driveway will be dictated, or the access will be dictated by the DOT. And most likely, they're not gonna allow a secondary driveway.
If we approve this as is though tonight, that building permit doesn't come back to us to have any conversations, it just goes straight to DOT?
We're not approving a building permit for a residence.
Right.
We're just approving the hay
No,
barn.
but looking at the plan here, right, so we're being asked to approve that exhibit that's up there?
I'll put it this way, when we were talking about this development, they said there may be a house in the future for the caretaker. And I said, well, why don't you show that so we know what the ultimate open space related issue is for the site?
Okay.
Because, you know, I didn't want them, I mean, if they would have to come back in, you know, if they were gonna build a house, let's just say 3 years from now, they would have to come back in and get an updated plan to show what the open space is. And I wanted to make sure that what we're doing tonight is gonna meet that requirement, you know, meet the open space requirement, which it will. It's, with all this in, I believe the open space would be 91.2%, and there'll be an A2, which allows 85%.
Okay.
A1 requires 95%, so they don't meet, they wouldn't meet it.
And they're gonna be at 91 something,
91.2,
just with the hay barn
hay barn and the house,
and the additional house? Okay.
yeah. I mean, they put in a number for the house, you know, for, just to show us that I don't see that it's gonna be a problem with that. They added the driveways, they added the stone that they're gonna add to that, so. So ultimately, they're gonna be at about 91.2%, somewhere in that range, which still is not close to the 85 that they're allowed, or that they're required to have. So I don't know if did I answer the question for you or not on that?
Maybe. I think we're closer, but with the shared driveway, I know we've posed some questions about that in the past. Is that what we're seeing here? I mean, if we approve it, are we saying that shared driveway is okay?
I would say that we don't have a choice in it.
Okay,
That's gonna be a choice that's made by the DOT
okay,
as to what, you know, where the driveway would have to be for that, or what driveway they can use. I'm just saying, based on
that's not our call, that's the DOT's
right,
call.
and
Gotcha.
they did a study of the corridor many years ago, and they were trying to get rid of driveways. So I think that they're gonna try to combine driveways whenever they can.
Okay. And it just came to mind, looking at that as far as what we're approving, so if it's under the DOT.
It's really under the DOT.
Jurisdiction, not ours.
Yeah.
Again, just knowing that it's been part of conversations in the past as we've reviewed these, so wanted to make sure whose jurisdiction.
Yep, okay.
Sure.
So, and just where does, I'm assuming they're gonna have water and electrical?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm just more curious.
Well, I know that they're connecting into a sewer, and as far as the electrical, they're rerouting what it is there. But,
So it's gonna have sewer too
yes.
in the hay barn.
If, you know, they don't want to, they're not going to be using that hay barn for anything else but storage of hay. That's all they're going to use. But they have to reroute that sewer line because it comes right through the slab.
I was just curious to know how they're gonna.
So at this point, they're not hooking it up to sewer, it just has to be rerouted?
Yes. Yep.
And there is no public water out there, so they're on a well of some sort.
Okay, okay. You know why they put, why did you select that site?
Well, it's close to the barn, and it's, you know, the big barn that they will pull hay out for the horses. Yes, yeah. And it's on the south side, you know, less of a, I don't know, less of an impact rather than putting it out in the front of the building.
So you'd look for a recommendation from this body to Waukesha County?
That's correct. And any conditions we want to add to that, if we want to.
And it looks like your recommended condition is that is the erosion control plan submitted to the building inspector?
That's correct, yes. That's the only thing that was not included in the plan set.
So I'd look for a,
I'll motion unless Nicole had an additional condition that you wanted to add. I'm more than happy to let you do it.
I would,
Otherwise, I
I
was
don't-
just going to do the motion on here, but I'll defer to you if you had something that you wanted specifically the inspector to look at regarding fuel. Is
I
does that
would.
cover it? Okay. I would make a motion to recommend to Waukesha County with the condition that an erosion control plan and sufficient fuel review be submitted to the building inspector for approval at the time the building permit is issued.
I would second that.
motion is second to recommend to Waukesha County with the condition that the erosion control plan be submitted to the building inspector along with review of fuel storage within the building or on site before approval is issued. Motion is second on the floor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration and possible action on a request from Sharon Lerner, W292N2145 Elmhurst Drive for the approval of a certified survey map to combine two properties into one property at W292N2145 Elmhurst Drive, tax key number DELT 0809-012. Engineer Barbeau.
All right. As you can see by the aerial photo up on the screen, there is two lots there. There's part of Lot 9 and part of Lot 10 of an old 1925 plat that this owner owns. And the line basically goes right between it. You can kind of see it go down the driveway and then through the house. And so this CSM just combines those two lots into one lot. In essence, erases that line that goes through the house. And
It's a pretty standard one that we see periodically along the way.
Yeah.
Where we're just
We've
cleaning
been
up that
trying to-
imaginary line.
between the county and the town, we're trying to clean up these homes or properties that have multiple lots, two of them, and create one single lot out of them. And if anything was ever done to the house, they would have to do this in order to meet these offset requirements and things like that. So I recommend that the Plan Commission make that approval. There was an updated CSM, so just say the latest date. I believe it was, I think I got it today.
What is it, 8/5 today?
It was
8/6.
8/6 today.
I recommend approval of the CSM dated August 6th, subject to any satisfaction of any outstanding review comments from the town, city of Delafield, and Waukesha County for the property located at W292N2145 Elmhurst Drive.
I would second that.
Motion is second to approve the approval of the CSM. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, discussion. There is none. Next item, announcements of planning items. The next Plan Commission meeting is September 3rd. Look for,
Make a point on that one?
sure.
That'll be a public hearing, so we will need a quorum of the board up there too,
Okay.
on the 3rd.
Okay.
Next item would be adjournment. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We are adjourned.